Today I'd like to tell you a little bit about how I came about going from being a brand ambassador to a social entrepreneur and to focus on our social venture, the Nexus Center. Like many of you, 30 years ago, I started my education at Sevenoaks, went on to be studied a master's in biochemistry and did my MBA, and spent about 15 years working in the FMCG business at blue tech companies. But like maybe some of you will also undergo, at one point in life, you start to wonder whether this is really what will make you happy, and whether this is what you want to keep on doing. And typically so, becoming a mother actually starts to make you question these things and whether you want to climb that corporate ladder. It's not something which happens overnight. Actually, it's a process. And clarity really set in about 6 years ago when I was allowed to look through the eyes of teenagers in Rotterdam that were less privileged than you were. So I worked at a project called the Rotterdam European Youth Capital, where we developed programs for teenagers less fortunate. And their dreams, wishes, and ambitions really impressed me because they were filled with creativity to help others, filled with creativity to question the status quo, and also filled with creativity to help sustain our planet. At that point, I knew that it was time to do something different. And taking my experience as a marketeer, together with my partner, who has a lot of experience in sustainable technologies in offshore and shipping, we decided to venture off onto a new business called water tech trading. Now, to come back to the thought of how many people actually have access to basic services, I wonder if you know, well, actually, he just told you, but about half of humanity does not have access to basic services. And this is a hell of a lot of people because actually it's not that difficult to do to solve this problem. But besides geographical and political reasons, there are really 4 main reasons why this doesn't happen. The first being that governments in developing countries have no incentives to actually invest in off-grid areas or infrastructure in off-grid areas. They have no taxation systems in place on public goods, so there's actually no money to actually renovate or innovate the current systems, or even let alone make sure that there are systems in off-grid areas. NGOs, there are a lot of NGOs out there that do a really good job. However, for them to come up with sustainable solutions, they need to start thinking commercially, which is not really in their DNA. Some of them are starting, but it will take a while before this happens. A lot of big corporations are finding it really difficult to invest in bottom-of-the-pyramid markets because basically the margins and the markets are much more complex. There are some that have cracked the code and they'll start to actually provide services, but this will take a while before it's really rolled out properly. And last but not least, financial institutions are risk-averse by definition. And setting up projects in developing countries are risky by definition. So trying to find financing for projects in developing countries is quite a difficult thing to do. So when you hear some of these reasons, you wonder why I would even venture on trying to fix these solutions. Because trust me, there are many times when we've looked at each other and said, why are we doing this? Well, it's actually quite simple. The reason why we're doing this is because of Krishna. Krishna is the girl in green. She's 20 years old. She lives in Madi Chitwan, close to the Indian border, has no available drinking water or safe drinking water, very little electricity available, and she needs to boil her water on a daily basis to actually be able to have some safe drinking water. Krishna knows at least 10 people that have suffered from lead poisoning or arsenic poisoning in the water, and contaminated water is something which happens on a daily basis. So Krishna has dreams just like you do. So in order to help Krishna, we set up, my Swiss business partner, WeConnex, and I set up Nexus Center, which is a sustainable community hub that provides safe water and energy and rental space for entrepreneurs to set up shop, whatever they would like, whether it's a remittance office, an internet cafe, a mom and pop store, or even a place to actually print your documents, as long as it provides economic independence. Currently, we have 7 of these running in Nepal, and we started in September, so it's all very, very fresh and quite exciting to see whether we'll be able to prove that our concept actually works. If you look at the numbers, we provide fresh drinking water for about 800 families at an affordable price. The normal pricing of bottled water in Nepal is about 12 times more expensive, and we create 12 jobs per center. So this includes the operators, the maintenance, and actually the distribution of the water, plus the entrepreneurs. So how does this affect Krishna? Well, actually, Krishna is actually one of our operators, and she now has a job and has access to safe drinking water. So from a sustainable social and economical point of view, Krishna is doing really well, and we really would like to help more people like Krishna. So our dream is to go from 7 centers to 100 centers in the next year, which is quite ambitious, but you need to have high ambitions to get anywhere. So I'd like to introduce you to Marit. Marit has been in Nepal for the last 6 months, helping us set up these centers, and she will now tell you from her own experience what it was like.
Namaste, Sevenoaks School. I guess by now you all have a good idea about what the Nexus Center is by the explanation of Katina. I would like to tell you a little bit more about my experience working in a country like Nepal. If I had to describe it in one word, I would definitely say challenging. Challenging because it's such a different world. Things like thinking efficient, thinking in a long term, is something that people are not familiar with in Nepal. That means that whenever you want to show them your possibilities, the things that you see, you really need to take time and you really need to show them. Look, if you do this, then maybe in 6 months or maybe in 3 months it can grow into this and it can grow into this. It takes patience. Another challenge is the culture difference and of course the language barrier. In the culture in Nepal, people will never give you no for an answer. That means that whenever you ask them a question, they will always say yes. But most of the time, at the end, they do something else. They will also never give you straight feedback, but always say something to protect your face or either their face. So if you really want to get the information you need, for example, when you're training people and you want to have feedback, it's really hard. On the other side, what I really like about Nepal is that people enjoy their life, make the best of what they have, spend a lot of time with their friends and family, and I guess they better understood what is really important in life. I'm glad that I had this experience with the Nexus Center because I strongly believe that this can be the answer for a lot of problems in developing countries, that it can be an answer to all the NGOs who spend a lot of money but without being sustainable. I really hope that the Nexus Center can grow into more and more and more, and that we can by that make a real difference. It has been a great adventure for me, and I wish you all same adventures like this.
Well, thank you, Mara. 2 words, challenging and rewarding, and that's really what it's all about. Now, if there's 3 things that I would really like you to remember from this presentation, is what it really takes to be a social entrepreneur. I guess I'd like to challenge you to never be afraid of thinking big. You have to think big. You have to believe in your dreams. I think someone else said that too today, or more people have said it today. Because you will meet more people along your path that will tell you it can't be done. It's a silly idea. Why are you doing this? Than people that say, hey, I understand you, I'll help you, we'll take that path together. You need to have a sense of humor because, trust me, things never go as you think they'll go. To give you an example, we'd created a label for our jars and our bottles and sent it to the printer. And lo and behold, we got 5,000 labels which were totally different design than what we'd actually given him because what happened was he couldn't actually do the color coding. So instead of telling us, he went back to the drawing board and made his own label and printed 5,000 for us. So now you can get really angry because you've got 5,000 labels that you can do nothing with, or you can go back to the drawing board and try and figure a way that you could kind of circumvent these things. Last but not least, and you've seen the hashtag in the presentation, I think you need to be a poet and a farmer, so you need to be creative and you need to dream. But you have to do things yourself, and you have to keep at it, because there will be no support team, there'll be no assistants, there'll be no departments to help you. There will be just a group of small people that are dedicated to try and do the concept or do the dream and actually get the job done. So keep at it. So one more thing. I guess my final question is, what can you contribute? What would you like to contribute, and what is your impact? Are you actually crazy enough? Steve Jobs said, it's actually the crazy ones that think they can change the world that actually do change the world. So if you are one of those crazy ones and you would like to change the world, or have somebody say, I understand, I'll listen to you, then please feel free to contact me. I think the PowerPoint has gone a little bit weird because it didn't look like this morning, but if you just put the last letters at the end, you'll have the right contact details. So thank you very much, and I wish you a lot of luck on your journeys.